When we talk about doing this, what we're talking about when we want to be able to take a step back and we want to be able to really understand what is real versus realistic. What we want to do is sort of imagine that we're looking at a mountain. What we want to know about that mountain is what its real height is, not what the height that we think we can realistically climb to today, but what the real height of the mountain is. That's the first thing we have to know. We can deal with realistic later. We can deal with realistic through our strategic account planning or strategic territory planning. But the first thing we got to understand is what is the real potential? What is the real height of that mountain? That mountain might be a single account. It might be a collection of accounts. It might be in our entire territory. But we need to know what that real height is or the real potential of that mountain is for us to be able to assess how we start to climb it. One of the advantages of doing this is that if we look across our accounts and we understand that the real height of various accounts, once we know what the real height of those mountains are, we can begin to assess then which mountains might actually have the best path for us to pursue immediately. They give us the perspective of being able to say, okay, well, this mountain, even though this one might be higher, this other mountain that's slightly shorter in size or slightly smaller for us to be able to actually has an easier path. And so we can begin to evaluate how we might be able to approach all of the potential mountains that we have the opportunity to climb. And so when we think about it, we want to, again, think about it in terms of the real height and not what we realistically think we can accomplish right now. So the way we define ambition is that ambition is the total potential of an account. What we want to do when we think about ambition is we want to take a step back and say, if we looked out 3 years, we looked out right now through the end of 2028, and if this customer or this territory was fully leveraging all of the solutions or products that I sell today, what does that look like at the end of 3 years? If every one of my competitors is gone, if every possible homegrown application for whatever the solution is that I sell is no longer there, if I could make a wish and wish away all the barriers, all the things that keep me from winning 100% of what's possible, what does that look like at the end of 3 years? So at the end of 2028, if I had 100% of the opportunity leveraging my solutions, my products, my capabilities, what does that potential look like? What does the revenue look like from that type of an opportunity? And that's what I want to be able to understand. I want to be able to know what that total potential is, because then I can begin to assess how I'm actually going to be able to go out and capture a very large portion of it. Because what I want to do is I want to get as much of that in play as I can in year one. What I don't want to have is a plan that says I'm going to go and compete for a very small part of it this year, and then I'll capture another small part of it next year, and then I'll build on that and I'll capture the rest in the third year, because that hockey stick that we create for ourselves in doing that leaves us in a position of having an insurmountable ways that we have to go in order to even have a large portion of our total potential captured by the end of year 3. What we want to be able to do is understand what that total potential is, and then we want to try to get 50% of that total potential in play in year 1. And by doing this, what that does for us is it has an impact downstream in everything that we do. When we get larger portions of our total potential in play from the outset, we can begin to change the game, because it puts us in a position to have to ask different kinds of questions. Who are the people that we need to know that we don't know right now? Who are the owners of the business or the executives in that business that we don't have a relationship that we would need a relationship with in order to be able to achieve our total potential? It puts us in a position to have to ask different kinds of questions in our discovery. We have to understand much more about what the customers, what their outcomes are, what they're looking to accomplish in the next 3 years, 5 years. What are the things that they're trying to do that we can have a big impact on? And how can we help them understand at the highest levels that we can inside of that company? What can we help them to understand that we can have that kind of an impact? And so we want to be able to understand what that total potential is in order for us to have a chance to be able to go and play for it.